right, welcome back to where we make it make sense. That's right, changed it up. All right, so here we're still talking about schedule reinforcement and variable ratios is what we're going to be talking about now. Remember, when we're talking about variable, that means that there's going to be a change in when the individual receives the reinforcement. And ratio means how many responses. So we know that we're going to have a certain amount of responses and that the reinforcement is going to change depending on the amount of responses. So let's take a look at the actual definition. It's a scheduled reinforcement requiring a number of responses required varies around a random number. The mean, and I circled mean, number of responses required for the reinforcement. So what it's saying here is, like I told you, you're going to have a number of responses, and then we're going to have, after the responses have occurred, we're going to reinforce. But unlike fixed, it's going to change. So fixed, remember when we talked about fixed ratio, the responses were the same amount to receive the reinforcement each time. With variable ratio, they're going to change. So let's take a look at it. So let's say that you have a client. So you're working with your client. Let's do it like this. You have you, and you have your client. Okay? And they have to do a certain number of responses. All right? So let's say they have to tap on a drum. So the response is for them to tap on a drum. So here, let's say they have to do it 6 times, and then they'll get reinforced. And then they have to do it again 15 times, then they'll get reinforced. 3, 13, 8. And this is going to be a VR10. So they do it 3 times, you reinforce them. They do it 13 times, you reinforce. 18 times, you reinforce. So this is where, so if we were actually physically doing it, there'll be a little drum here, and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here you go. 15, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Here you go. And you would give them reinforcement after each time. Now the VR10 is telling you that you have to have a mean. To get the mean, you're going to add these up. 6 and 15, 15 and 3, 3, 13, 13 and 18 is going to equal 55. Then you take how many numbers you have. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I'm going to divide it by 5. And that's going to give me my 10, a mean of 10, which gives me my VR10. Okay? So with variable ratio, you're going to have a different number of responses, but they're going to receive reinforcement after each one. The thing about variable ratio is that the responding stays consistent. It's consistent because the whole purpose of reinforcement when they get it is to keep them responding. Well, here they never know when it's going to come. They can do it 6 times and they may get it, or they may have to do it 15 times to get it, or they may just have to do it 3 times and get it. So they're going to keep doing the behavior over and over, looking for the reinforcement, keep responding until they get it. So variable ratios have to deal with a certain amount of responses, 6, 15, how many ever, and then you take the mean to get the actual number that it should be, the VR10. So variable ratio is changing from 6, 15, 3, 13, 18. Now, what I'm going to do real quick, I usually don't do this, but I am going to compare it to a fixed ratio so that you really understand what I'm talking about. So if I have a fixed ratio and it's a fixed 10, a FR10, and I have my responses and my reinforcement, because sometimes contrast is easier to understand. It's going to be this: 10 reinforce, 10, reinforce, 10, reinforce, 10, reinforce. So no matter what they do, they're going to do 10 responses every time because it is fixed. The 10 is fixed. So 10 responses, 10 responses, 10 responses. With variable ratio, the amount of responses are changing. So just to kind of let you see, a fixed ratio, it's always going to be 10. The individual, no, I need to beat on it 10 times, and then I'm going to get that reinforcement. With a variable ratio, they never know how many times they have to beat on the drum in order to receive it. So I'm going to step out the way and let you take a look at it. So VR varies, the amount of response is changing. Fixed, the response amount stays the same. Okay? All right, and there you have it. Variable ratio.